Yeah, I'm Silverhawk, Paul Bristow. A lot of friends call me Pablo. Take people on trips places. Lots in Alaska, Mexico, different places. So hence Pablo. You'll hear people refer to me as that. But from Seattle originally, live in Portland, Gresham area nowadays. And I guess my sister, who lives right in Veneta, first started coaxing me to get to the fair here in about 1978, but it took a little while. But yeah, boy, where do we start? Done so many things here. Had so many opportunities. Did booths for a few years, and then worked for 4A and worked for internal security and was an internal security supervisor with my office at the Lighthouse by Main Stage. Worked with lots of great folks and did booths again. I built a series, well, I'm a luthier. I build guitars, I teach guitar building, and I built a series of folk instruments just for the country fair. And they were inspired by the cigar box theme. So I built cigar box instruments, you know, of all different natures, and ukuleles, baritone guitars, 3-string, 4-string, and then amplifiers out of cigar boxes, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, exclusively designed just for the fair. Don't sell them anywhere else. But this year, I decided just to go ahead and take use of the privilege of being an elder, so I could actually have the time to go around and see friends and beloveds and people that mean a lot to me, that from working multiple jobs simultaneously, you never get to see at the fair. And so this year is the year to do that. You know, a lot of us are getting older. Got a lot of friends that are inactive elders at the fair here, and same is happening in Luthery. So many of the guitar builders, violin builders, and harpsichord builders are just getting old and passing. So we need to spend a little time together. And that's what I'm interested in doing, and that's why we wanted to offer to meet with you, Mickey, and you know, share a few stories that I think are significant. I'd like to say one that impacted me. One of my life experiences happened here at fair, and it was back in the day before flashlights and cell phones, and you just wander in the dark and meet people that way, or just pass different souls. You just feel their presence as you go by. It might be a year where it was a new moon and it was very dark on the paths, or maybe another year it was a moonlit fair. But this particular fair, it was a new moon. It was very dark, and I was carrying a guitar. Actually, this guitar right here is the very guitar I had, and I was taking this just to meet with people. I'd always play with different musicians until there was nobody left up. And then I'd go crash for a couple hours and get up and go again, because I believe that you never come to fair to sleep. But anyway, I was going up this dark trail. I went up a slight incline, and I really have no idea where it was. But at this little crest was another path that intersected, and it was a main path, and there was a building there with like a sign sticking out, and hanging from that sign or that board was a beautiful candle that was just flickering and having this beautiful orange light dancing around. And there was this lovely woman there that just she kind of got under the light and then started doing this really slow, beautiful dance. And I got my guitar and I tuned it to an open tuning, and I just started playing stuff so that we were just totally in sync. Her incredible movements, and I was playing some kind of etheric, little mystical stuff. And then what happened was, out of the dark, another musician comes up, and then out of the dark, another one comes up, and all these people just came, and in all different instruments, and we just started harmonizing and making this beautiful, only to be heard once music. It was incredible while this beautiful ballerina under this mystical light was just performing, and it was life-changing, really. And then musicians started to kind of dissipate away, and people just left. And then eventually it was just her and I put my guitar away, and she went one way and I went the other way. And the most incredible thing is nobody ever said a word. There was never another light, not a lighter, no flashlights, no cell phones. It was just this mystical gathering, and we don't even know each other's faces, but it was important, very important. It was mystical. Really, it was beautiful, and a story I like to tell. But there was another time it was interesting. Before cell phones, well, we'd connect up with other folks around fair, because we've always helped bring stuff like wheelchairs for 4A and stuff for internal security and stuff for different booths. And so we'd bring a lot of stuff and help distribute it through the fair for different organizations and individuals. But this one time I was down towards where the old craft lot was, and some other partner was somewhere up by the hub or something. We were on walkie-talkies, and then this lady came on and started talking. It was way pre-fair, and I said, well, we have this channel, we'd like to use it. She goes, well, I want to use this radio channel. I go, well, but we've been here for 2 days. She goes, well, I want to use this channel. I said, okay. So we're talking through walkie-talkies. I have no idea who this person is. And I said, do you have a quarter? Or do you have a coin? She goes, yeah, I got a quarter. I says, okay, let's flip for it. She goes, what? I go, well, you flip it, I'll call it, and then whoever wins, they get the channel, and the other person will just go to find a different channel. And she says, well, how do you know I won't lie? I go, well, I trust you. And so I said, okay, tell me when you flip it. She did, and I called it, and apparently I won the coin toss. And she just gladly changed channels. But that was, how we got to do it out in the unfair world, other places. Other things I've had the opportunity to do, pre-fair construction, trying to repair things that have had storm damage or just rot, and a lot of that in internal security stuff at the lighthouse and things. But also worked with a beloved friend that got me into 4A, Ken Alvis, and the 4A booth in Community Village needed to be rebuilt. And so he got a lowboy and had all these logs that he bought, got peeled. He paid for it himself. And we went in there and we tore the whole thing down and rebuilt the whole booth. Things like this that, a little extra time and sweat off the side, but it's a contribution that feels good. The first fairs, it's possible, I've actually done the whole fair with just like a hip pack. Just, and a little cash to eat. But, yeah, things are different these days. But my sister urged me for a long time, but I was always too busy and working, flying all over the place. And I came to a fair and pretty much just snuck in, stayed for the whole fair. That happened a few times before I was able to get fully engaged as a contributing worker, before I learned to weigh in, where I could assist, where I could help, do something that was needed. And then pushed really hard on that, because that's kind of my attitude. I'd just do that. The last couple of years that I worked internal security, I would start like at 8 in the morning, and then might not get done until 4 or 4:30 in the morning. and then get up and start the next day like that. So we're talking working the whole time and never experiencing fare, if you know what I mean. Which is why one of the reasons for doing the elder thing this year. Plus, I kind of wore myself out working that way. I have an interesting memory. Before before all the blue face, I call it, people walking along with the cell phones going, you know. Many years ago, before really it was the earliest cell phones, when they weren't transportables, radios anymore, when cells started, I was the only person that I knew at Fair that had one. And of course, there was no real service here, but I had to call to get a flight out of here because I had flown in. And I went out, and it might have been on Strawberry Lane or somewhere, or maybe it was over by where the highway is. But I went way out to the edge trying to get a signal, and people looked at me as if I was Satan. You know, just the total look of, how dare you bring that evil piece of technological garbage? That's creepy. That's like, how dare you do that? That's disgusting. It's a cell phone. Well, now, you know, we can't even meet at Fair without our cell phones. And it's handy sometimes. You know, none of us really like the blue face, right? When you're trying to walk through a dark alley. And I really miss the times when that was there. But it was just funny seeing this switch, you know. I was kind of a cutting edge, but I was also like a bad man for having that thing. It's interesting how how people can make lifelong bonded relationships with people, maybe randomly or not so randomly, that you meet at the fair. A friend who's working security right now, Gary Van Horn, known as Tug. He worked tugboats for 28 years. But he is, we were roaming one evening, and I think that we were probably watching artists, Spoonman, perform. And Artis and I always enjoyed each other because we're both from Seattle, and we like that bit, you know. Used to see him down there. But so Tug and I are watching Artis, and there's this guy behind us selling these interesting little devices. And you could code them so that when you spun them, it would make a sentence or a word. Okay, but my friend who was doing this, he had suffered some damage, and it was late. It was in the dark, and he couldn't get the programming to work, and so he just was able to program in the letter B. And how we met was he was spinning this thing, and he said, "I can't make it any more clear, just B." And so we became lifelong friends ever since. Three amigos going through fair, you know, day and night, catching good vibes. And yeah, you might want to talk with Ken too. I'll give you his information too. Yeah, lifelong friends, and you know, connect up later. And then that's one of the reasons it's important for me to do the elders thing this year, is because things are moving, and often I've overworked. Like the last 5 years, I was doing security, internal security supervisor, and also having a booth right across from main stage, one of two, with these instruments, and people, you know, assisting me, and the craft inventory people being very wonderful and very understanding that my energy was split a little bit, but it was working into this, you know. And yes, but so many hours, wore myself out a bit. But what's interesting too is people love these amplifiers, and so I'd get orders for these afterwards, just from fairgoers, you know. But seeing all the people and the beautiful circus as it walks by, you know. one year we had a booth at the Junction. I love that place. Right across from the drum tower through the 8th. Booth 149, and it was incredible because that's where all the action is, because everybody at some point in their fair history has got to go through that intersection, and so you see all of it. Probably my favorite place to be if I was going to just hang 24 hours here. Indeed. I guess I have to drop back just personally for a second, and that is that I really like to assist and set up and help other people work things out, because I'm really good mechanically. Aircraft mechanic, inspector, rotor wing, fixed wing pilot, and then guitar builder and stuff. But I have these skills that I like to, and this attitude, So like if somebody needs something, oh, you need batteries, oh, you need rope, oh, you need this, or you need help like figuring out how to keep your pop up, from flying across the far side when the wind comes. I like sharing my experience that way, passing a little knowledge or something that makes something easier for somebody. That's just part of my nature. And so I think that is, just the way I think that way is allowed me to have a lot of opportunities working at the fair, because there's a lot of openings for people that want to participate, right? Well, I'll tell you, this year has been very, very pleasant. I think a lot of people are not just being selfish people and thinking about themselves. I think there's a lot of people that are really trying to make the bigger good, the greater good happen. And I'm seeing it in some of the younger folks, that are really wanting to blend, with their neighbors, whoever they are, And I think that's really important. And I think a lot of people that are fair kids, or they've come with fair kids, and so they have a good feel for what it's like to have a good time and work together. And one thing that's always been really important to me is the kids. And I worked hard to get it so we could have a teen working with the internal security crew at the lighthouse. It took a number of years to get that going. We got one, and I wanted to get like more kids. But we had kids working with us and being battery runners and stuff like that. I mean, for several years before they're even a teen and can get on teen crew. They just want to help. And so what also that does is it also has it so like in this particular instance in internal security, kids got an issue, they know where to come. They're very safe to come to the tower, the control central area. They know to go to Fair Central, but mainly when they come up to us when they got a problem. So it's our responsibility to help them with that. And down that very alley kind of brings me to the Teddy Bear Picnic, which is one of my most favorite events of all time. We support that in a couple of ways. Often Tug and I will round up a lot of teddy bears, and sometimes over 100, and then get to distribute them early before the kids come wake up, and that's just a blast. And then help some of the new kids understand how it works. The game, if you find a teddy bear, it's yours. And then if you find another teddy bear somewhere that's more appealing, then you choose which one that you want and leave the other one for another child. And it's really incredible to watch this happen. I love it later in the day, just kind of checking out if they're all found, which they are. These kids are amazing. And then to see different kids with different teddy bears at different times during the day and how it all goes. My oldest granddaughter, who's 14 now. When she was a little girl, and here I have the most beautiful memory, because just before we're having a picnic at main stage, I see this big white bear being dragged backwards. Its legs are dragging and it's going across the grass at main stage, and if you would look in front of this big white bear, you'd see this beautiful little blonde girl that's holding the bear's front legs over her shoulders and just walking and dragging with it. She finally built up to like the biggest bear. But in the middle of the picnic, she met an older girl that maybe was 12, and then they seemed perfectly happy to trade bears at that late stage in the game. And yeah, both very satisfactory. They both got bears that were more even to their size and their level of ability to be able to motate them, you know. Yeah, very beautiful things. We love that. So we have another granddaughter, and one of our daughters will be coming with us this year. A teddy bear picnic, yeah, it's an awesome thing. What else do I say? Maybe I could play just a little ditty. This is just kind of a fun bit. Not too intense. Welcome to Fairlife.